Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Curtis Selby, your tired midnight blogger. What blogs? In this case, at 7:34 p.m., otherwise known as the tired midnight blogger. What blogs at midnight? I'm hoping to at least have one person to show up and chat and interact. I think that would be fantastic to have one person who could show up and interact. I would share this, but I don't really know how to share it now that I've got it started. I feel the need to, one, I'm finding these things to be very therapeutic. Maybe there's also something bad about airing a bunch of my thoughts out online for the whole world to see. The title of today's post, Even General Flynn Had a Mother, because Mother's Day is coming up, and everybody did, in fact, have a mother. So, what I'm going to do until somebody shows up in the chat is to read from my previous post. And I know I did a little bit of that on Moira Kitty's channel. And thank you very much, by the way, Moira, for having me on. And I wish that we had discussed General Flynn a little bit more, but I am afraid that we both had basically we we're enjoying talking about the conflict in Israel and the various things, various different opinions about that. Hello, S. Jones. I will sing if you want me to, but I will warn you, it's not the best thing you've ever heard. And Matt Chatewood, hello. It's good to see you. Yes. So I have a couple of people to interact with. This is wonderful as far as singing. You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. If I sing much more than that, YouTube will, frankly, probably strike it down because of copyright stuff. So, let me present to you, and I know, Matt, I'm pretty sure you have already read my previous post about General Flynn. Let's see if I've been smart enough to share this appropriately. Yes. Yes, I did. Isn't that wonderful? So, I thought I was so clever. War is the continuation of politics by other means, quote by Karl von Clausewitz. I share here the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima by the Enola Gay. I've heard that business is warfare. I've heard warfare is merely a violent extension of politics. And I've heard that war is hell. You do the math. At the time, I was doing a lengthy discussion about several politicians and actors in the arena, the primary face being Eric Prince, the second one being General Flynn, and the third one being Roger Stone. And I made efforts to try to tie that back to Oklahoma politics with arguable success. So, in a previous post before this, I had written All Warfare is Based on Deception, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. I learned a lot in that article from something written by an ex-mercenary named Sean McFate. And at the time, and currently now, it's one of the reasons why I'm on here doing all this talking. I'm revisiting some aspects of my worldview. Before I had read the article about Sean McFate, and I can go back into it if people are interested in that, but for now I'll stay focused. I largely felt that mercenaries were dangerous, and likely they are. Let's face it, if someone has that on their resume and has lived to tell the tale, that person is likely not a pushover. But my understanding of why and how they're dangerous was uninformed and likely still is, and a little naive. Before, I thought of mercenaries as mostly brutes, willing to do whatever it took to earn a profit and survive, without honor, willing to change sides for a larger bid, willing to loot, rape, and flee in the face of superior firepower, leaving innocent women and children to die or starve as fate wills it. And to quote Vicini, I've hired you to help me start a war. It's a prestigious line of work with a long and glorious tradition. So, maybe I had Eric Prince wrong. And that's something I'm thinking about now. Maybe I am wrong about who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. So, skipping ahead, I can tell now, reading this aloud, that I should have been more focused when I wrote this one. But we have here the retired former National Security Advisor to Donald Trump, Michael Flynn. I believe he still holds the record for the shortest tenure of National Security Advisor. And he is endorsing here David Bennett for Oklahoma Republican chairman. And I wrote at length how I had criticisms of him. I'm not going to get sidetracked on that. Think whatever you want about David Bennett. I'm going to stay focused on Michael Flynn. I have already read some of this on other posts, but basically Michael Flynn was a Catholic. His mother was very strong into politics. Michael Flynn, record-setting national security chair. Yes, that is correct. Stacey Jones. I compared him to Lady Jane Grey, who actually served as queen for a shorter period of time and ended in a lot less positive way. She lost her head, I believe, quite literally. So, who is General Flynn? According to biography.com, Michael Flynn began his 33-year Army career as a second lieutenant in military intelligence. After 3 years as intelligence chief of the JSOC in Iraq, he returned stateside for top bureaucratic posts, but was forced out as director of the Defense Intelligence Agency in 2014. I don't believe I quoted here, but my understanding is that he did not get along well with subordinates. And while usually the military doesn't care if you don't get along with your subordinates, for reasons that I actually haven't been able to dig up, it seems as though the military sided with the subordinates rather than Michael Flynn. Matt Cheatwood is sharing the last several hundred years of mercenaries not dominating warfare are, and it's true, that's exactly right, they're an aberration compared to thousands of years of history when mercenaries were the norm and not the exception. That's absolutely correct. So Flynn emerged as a strong supporter of presidential candidate Donald Trump. He was named Trump's national security advisor in November. It's not in this particular quote, but I believe that it was Michael Flynn. He didn't exactly invent the lock her up chant, but it was at one of his speeches that it became the great big deal. People were chanting lock her up, and he happily, for good or ill, joined in. He was named Trump's national security advisor. He resigned after 24 days in office over the revelation of his contact with the Russian ambassador, and subsequently faced legal problems relating to his lobbying interests and failures to disclose information. In December 2017, he pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about his conversations with the Russian ambassador. My question, and nobody's really been able to answer this for me. I was kind of hoping that Moira would be able to, but we both got too distracted. Neither one of us was focused well enough. And that's not a criticism of her. It's her channel, and I'm just grateful to have been on it. But why would it matter if he talked to a Russian ambassador? I do understand that it matters that he lied to the FBI, but I wonder what are the lies, and why was he willing to plead guilty, and how is it that he ended up hanging out with a fellow Tulsan? Here we have the founders of the Reawaken America Tour, retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, and Oklahoma entrepreneur Clay Clark. And frankly, instead of criticizing Clay Clark, I should probably be hitting him up either for a job or for something, because he's actually doing what I would love to be doing. He's on the radio, he's doing conservative talk. I would give my eye teeth to be doing that, but I'm on here throwing my stuff out to the world for free on my channel. So they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance here, and comments are welcome. If you know Clay, if you have listened to Clay Clark, I have not. Feel free to let me know if he's smart, if he's wise, if he's silly, if he's stupid. I really don't know. But I just thought it was a great picture because they kind of both look silly, or at least, it's funny because Moira had been talking about Flynn having handlers. I'm probably full of crap. I think this is actually a cardboard cutout now that I'm looking at it. Either that or this gentleman is so very wooden that he just seems to be a cardboard cutout. I'm reminded of the scene in Blazing Saddles where they had the bobblehead people to fool the bad guys. So going back to his boyhood, he was disruptive and a bit rebellious. I guess if I'd written this with more thought, I might have put that at the beginning. But then I'm also quoting an article, so maybe they should have put it in a different order. But he learned discipline in sports. He became a general, but he did not climb the standard political path of a West Point graduate. Instead, he enrolled at the University of Rhode Island, where he joined the ROTC program and earned a degree in management science in 1981. I don't know if it will point it out here. Yeah, it does. It does. After graduation, Flynn joined the U.S. Army and was commissioned as second lieutenant in military intelligence. He was assigned to Fort Bragg in North Carolina, from where he was deployed as a platoon leader to Grenada in 1983, which, as we all know, was Clint Eastwood's first victory parade in Heartbreak Ridge. Stacey Jones, the scene where Inigo was cut out. Princess Bride. Yes, I mean, I honestly was about to talk about this guy, and then I looked at this other guy over here, and I was like, he doesn't look like a real guy. He looks like a cardboard cutout. And I was like, and now I'm like, are they people or are they cardboard cutouts? Anyway, I am getting distracted. So after graduation, he went to Grenada and all that. In the Providence Journal, Flynn and Islam, part of the thing that I was writing about was we had Oklahoma politicians that, in some people's estimation, and frankly, even in mine, while I rarely take stands, I'm going to take a stand on this. And, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I do feel like some Oklahoma politicians were too condemning of Islam as a whole. Absolutely, I am completely condemnatory of any terrorists. Hamas is right out. With respect to Moira Kitty, I do believe that there are things that are going on that are shady, but Hamas, I can't stand for them. and I can't stand for terrorists, which I know she argues and gives good arguments too, that one could consider Israel to be terroristic. I don't want to go too deep into that because, frankly, I neither want to embrace on live a belief that I don't honestly have, but I also don't want to be disingenuous to her and maybe misrepresent her belief and make it sound like I'm poo-pooing it or disrespecting it. I absolutely respect her opinion. Absolutely. But the Iranian hostage crisis of the late 70s had an enormous impact on the mindset of the young cadet. And honestly, it left a mark on me. I still, my thoughts about terrorism are hugely influenced. I was maybe 8 or 9 uh, when it happened, and it's burned into my memory. Iranians are still in my psyche some of the ultimate bad guys, and that may be unfair, but at the same time, uh, maybe don't take our diplomats as hostage, and I won't be thinking that. Um, an unprecedented act of terrorism with a presidential response some criticized as weak. The Iran hostage crisis undoubtedly influenced Flynn. Elements of his later conviction that radical Islam and ISIS pose deadly threats to America, which honestly, again, I think that it's too easy to make a blanket statement that all Muslims are bad. But yes, ISIS poses a deadly threat to America. I think that's demonstrable. It's found in an article in the November 25, 1980 Good 5-Cent Cigar, the school newspaper, headlined Iran Revolt Due to Return of Islam. The article summarized a lecture by a visiting professor who discussed the 1980 revolution in which the Shah was overthrown. A deep-seated resentment to the monarchy in the West had developed. Having defeated liberal Democrat Jimmy Carter in the November 1980 election, conservative Republican Ronald Reagan took office in January 1981 as Flynn was starting his final semester. So we basically have him seeing the quote unquote weak Jimmy Carter and the quote unquote strong Ronald Reagan. Whether that's true or not, uh, I honestly do find myself thinking that way, but maybe I'm just emotional from from the time as a kid. And I love this little panel from the Batman comic, Death in the Family. Perhaps the most evil thing Iran ever did was to make the Joker their official ambassador to the UN. Wait, my overpaid assistant Cassie is telling me that the Joker is actually a fictional character. Man, how crazy is Iran to appoint a fictional comic book villain to be their ambassador? And here he is. It's true, guys. I'm the new Iranian ambassador to the UN. Maybe not as talented as Mark Hamill, but I hope it works. Stacy says they are a threat to everyone. The first attacks are always against their own, and that's not wrong. There was a professor, I can't remember his school, but I subscribe to his YouTube channel because he often presents both sides of a case, and yet he does it in a very human and respectful way. And he had a guy on there who he discussed how ISIS had basically taken over the city, and so if you wanted to do business, you had to be ISIS. But he was like, I never did a terrorist thing. I actually kind of hated them, but I had to belong in order to do business. And I finally got out, and I went to the United States. But then something happened, and his wife ended up being the victim of some terrorism. So he had lost his wife. It was a whole big deal. Matt Cheatwood, zealotry as a general rule is quote unquote bad. And I think that's definitely a good truism. Is it possible to create or define a way of thought such that zealots of that belief system are not dangerous? I think that is a wonderful question. I wish I had a more intelligent answer to it, but I would suspect that it's not. I would suspect that unless you really are a saint, and I mean, let's face it, who really is, then zealots are always going to be dangerous. They're just always going to be. And I only give the caveat of sainthood just because, I know your beliefs as well, Matt, and I don't want to be disrespectful to them, but I'm just saying that hypothetically, I could see, maybe someone who is just a true, actual saint, maybe being zealous and yet not being dangerous. But that's actually kind of dangerous thinking too, because that's where you end up with terrorists. You end up with people who think they're saints, and frankly, they're not, in my humble opinion. So, the journal continues. Flynn's first assignment as a paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. It's fairly impressive to a civilian anyway. Was the beginning of many others around the U.S. and in Grenada, Haiti, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Afghanistan. Flynn would receive the Legion of Merit and Bronze Star Medal, among many other decorations. He would rise to Lieutenant General. Biography.com shares Flynn received a steady string of promotions as he rotated from posts at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, Fort Polk in Louisiana, Fort Huachuca in Arizona. Additionally, he was named Chief of Joint War Plans for the American invasion of Haiti. Oh my, in 1994. I don't even know what to say to that. Okay, then 9/11 hit. Biography.com continues. He served as Director of Intelligence for Joint Task Force 180 in Afghanistan until 2002 and commanded the 111th Military Intelligence Brigade for another 2 years. In 2004, Commander Stanley McChrystal appointed Flynn Director of Intelligence for the Joint Special Operations Command in Iraq. Taking advantage of technological resources, Flynn mined cell phone data and utilized drones to infiltrate terrorist cells and was credited with largely disrupting al-Qaeda activity in the area. Without meaning to get sidetracked, I was listening to the Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan interview, and this is one of the reasons why I'm revisiting my beliefs, because I'm not saying that I agree with everything Tucker Carlson says, but right or wrong, he's someone whose views I find myself at least mildly respecting. And Tucker Carlson was talking about Eric Prince. And he was saying, oh, yeah, Eric Prince is a wonderful guy. I bring him up, and I bring that up because they were talking about those phones. Eric Prince owns a company, and that was part of my writing, that these phones were being provided to Oklahomans, and they were trying to basically build up a militia of Oklahomans for a possible, maybe civil war. I don't really know. I'm just speculating, honestly. But I felt like it was at least possibly dangerous and something that we might want to think about. But then again, I don't know. Oh, hey! Last Call with Troy. Thank you so much for showing up at my random thing. I've recently been doing some reading about John Brown, an abolitionist zealot and terrorist who saw himself as Latter-day Moses. I agree. Hell yeah. Well, what Matt Cheatwood said, thank you very much. And I won't stay on here too long. I know Netter's got her thing, and I actually want to show up there. I won't be long here. I'm trying to remember what time her thing is. Is it 8 o'clock? Yes, last call. Of all the truths in the world, if you follow one to the exclusion of all the others, the truth becomes a lie and you're a zealot. Yeah, no, I find that that lines up, at least with my limited experience, very much. And thank you so much again for showing up. I'll try to make this quick because again, I do want to. I want people to be able to go to Netter, and I can't remember, but I think she goes on very soon. I'm looking into Michael Flynn because as I was revisiting my beliefs about Eric Prince, I was also rereading my stuff, and Moira Kitty was talking about how she felt. Yes, okay, it's at 9:10 Thursday thing. So yes, everyone, I believe that would be 10 o'clock our time, but just in case, I want to be done by 9 so you can all, if you want, go to see Netter's Network Thursday thing. She was so kind and let me come on there, even though my power was out and my computer hard drive had died. Thank you. That was actually quite kind. And I got 8 subscribers out of that, and that may not sound like a lot, but to me, it was basically a 10% increase in one day. So thank you. Sashi, love to see you here. The first operation that brought the SAS to the public eye was Operation Nimrod, the rescue of hostages from the Iranian embassy. I had forgotten that, but that's true. That's true. Oh, man. So I guess I do have a little bit of time. So with that being said, I'll go ahead, I'll finish the article, and then I'm going to share basically what I probably should have done in the beginning was share why Eric Flynn is even on my mind. So let's do that. I'm going to stop this screen, or maybe I can present. Yeah, I probably have to stop the screen. And sorry for mumbling. I'm still learning this stuff. So then I want to share the screen and do the Flynn. So while I was investigating my old beliefs and my old things, I came across Flynn has made a movie, and it's on Amazon Prime, and I'm excited because in my efforts to rebuild my life, I have to be very, very wary of where every penny goes. And so Amazon Prime is actually almost the only streaming thing that I've allowed myself to pay for. And that's where he is. So that's fantastic. But I'm going to share this trailer, and hopefully you all have some reactions. But if not, I will still give my tired bloggers two.
War is this massive racket. I mean, we are at war constantly. Peace is the aberration, and war is the norm. So if I was to give a grade, like you get in grade school, right? I give us an A plus for participating in these never-ending wars. I give us an F for winning. When we fast forward to today, really from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 9/11, and the wars that we're constantly at. And you tell me when we weren't at war. For those that are running our country, they want this perpetuation of war. And you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose? All we're doing is we are spending. There are those that are profiting, and there are those that are sacrificing. War is the easiest racket.
All right, so Matt Cheatwood, The Forever War. He read that in a book once. I keep seeing that title, but I never pick it up. I probably should read it. And so I watched this the other day, and I'm going to be honest. If I had not known anything about Flynn, I would have watched that. And frankly, even now, I'm watching that, and at least a part of my mind is like, that makes total sense. That, at least in the context of that video, everything he said is true. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that that he is the good guy. I don't know. That's what I'm basically struggling for my own reasons to try to figure out. And so I'd reached out to Moira because she knows quite a bit more about all this stuff than I do. And she shared that she believed that, and I can't prove any of this. It's just conjecture. So please bear this with great grains of salt. But she believes that essentially they were blackmailing Flynn, and that's why he ended up resigning. Now, again, being blackmailed doesn't make you good or bad necessarily. It makes you a victim. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to the general, because whether he's a good or bad man, he's served in the military and he's done more than I'll ever do. And by the way, thank you for your service, Matt Cheatwood. I know you have been in the military. But I mean, he actually spelled it out just perfectly in that video. And so I don't know that I have a real point here. Oh, that's right. The book was 1984. And oh my gosh, it's so true. I used to write that we were in a soft tyranny, but more and more, it's like the government took 1984 and what was the other book? Huxley wrote it. It was the other kind of dystopia. It was the kind of dystopia where you're given all your pleasures. Brave New World. It's like they took 1984, Brave New World, and the Screw Tape Letters, which, if you're not familiar with that, that's C.S. Lewis talking about. Yeah, yes, thank you, Troy. Yes, I love intelligent people. It's so good to talk to people who actually have read a book. Yes, Stacey Jones, Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451. It's supposed to be a warning, not an instruction manual. But no, I do feel like they took those books and put them into a blender and came up, ran it through Chat GPT, and this is the form of dystopia that's going to most keep the people under our thumbs. And right or wrong, and I know feelings don't really matter, only facts do, but right or wrong, that's how this feels. I'm not sure I can lay claim to intelligence. I just drink and I know things. Well, God bless you for drinking and knowing things. And hopefully my sister doesn't watch this video. She doesn't like that I drink, and I don't, I get it. Our dad was an alcoholic, so I don't blame her one little bit. Hell yeah, last call with Troy. Okay, so well, I guess I should share the screen before I go back to it. Present, stop screen, present, share screen, back to my blog post. Yes, my overpaid assistant Cassie informs me that this is actually not General Flynn and Eric Prince. I had been mistaken and thought that it was. Various sources tell various stories. Some say he was set up by angered subordinates who did not share his vision of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Others say he had upset his superiors, including Obama. In the end, it didn't matter. An illustrious career was ended in forced retirement, whether for good or ill. Biography.com continues, back in the private sector, Flynn formed the Virginia-based Flynn Intel Group. And why he keeps rejecting my resumes, I don't know. I think my reading of 2 Bond books and watching all the James Bond films should make me totally qualified to work for him, but evidently he disagrees. But the Flynn Intel Group offered private intelligence and security services, and he signed on with the Speaker's Bureau. I know he's done a lot of speeches in Oklahoma, and many of them are controversial. And to be honest, I totally get it. Some of the things he says do make the hair on what's left of the hair on my head stand up. He also made the rounds as a television analyst, which, a lot of these generals do. There's a revolving door, and everybody knows it, where generals retire from the Pentagon and end up getting ginormous salaries to be on the boards of Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and Boeing. Please don't unalive me, Boeing. But yeah, private intel groups seem very cyberpunk and Shadowrun to me, don't they? Don't you think General Flynn would look better in a mohawk? I mean, let's take a look at this guy. Yeah, look at that. Look, I can totally see it. A mohawk. I think that would be the thing for him to have a mohawk. He was an analyst. He included appearances on the Russian state network RT. In late 2015, he sat next to Russian President Vladimir Putin at an RT banquet. Now, does that mean he colluded with the Russians? I don't know. I have friends on one side of the aisle who will hate me for even making the suggestion, and I have friends on the other side of the aisle who will be applauding. That's what I mean. I really don't know. I don't know what it means, if it means anything. Boeing, inventor of the disassembling airplane. Well, it's thrift. We want to have the airplane disassemble more quickly. Efficiency is important. So we'll just get it done in the air. Thank you for that comment, Stacey Jones. After 3 decades spent largely behind the scenes, Flynn surprised former colleagues with his sudden outspokenness and turned toward more extreme positions. He tweeted, "Fear of Muslims is rational." And after 9/11, there are times, I hope y'all will forgive me, there are times when I do think that. And then there are times when I think that that's unfair. Comments are absolutely welcome, whether you agree, disagree with him or me. Fear of Muslims is rational in February 2016. And that summer, he co-authored a book, The Field of Fight, on how to combat radical Islam. At the 2016 Republican National Convention, he whipped the crowd into a frenzy over the transgressions of Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. And at the risk of losing my non-right-wing friends, yeah, hallelujah and amen. But he led the chant of lock her up. Maybe we shouldn't lock her up. Maybe we should. But she is not on Curtis Selby's favorite people list. After serving as Republican nominee, Donald Trump's go-to man for national security issues over the final months of the campaign, Flynn was rewarded with the post of National Security Advisor in November 16. We already know that. We have two men, because I'd been writing about Eric Prince and his military career, and then the tragic things that happened, for whether they were his fault or not, with the massacre that involved Blackwater. But I was trying to connect dots at the time. We have two men deep in the military, deep in the spook world of intelligence, both dishonored in the eyes of the world, both enormous Trump supporters. And I know I have Trump supporters in the chat, so I don't want to be disrespectful to them. And I have Biden supporters in the chat, so I don't want to be disrespectful to them. I'm never here to try to convince you to change your vote. You're thinking, yes, but you're voting, no. I think we're to a point where voting isn't going to change us. It's the hearts and minds that have to change if we're going to fix all this. And I love his icon, and there's chat going on. Nobody, I can hear your voice now. I can hear you saying this, Troy. Nobody, I won't be able to get it right, but nobody should be above the law. I'm not saying lock her up, and I'm not mocking you. I'm just trying to get your voice. But she should damn well be investigated. And you know what? I actually agree with that. Again, at the risk of losing my left-wing friends, I love you too. But yeah, I think she should be investigated. And as far as investigating the extent that Trump has been, that's where I connect with the right wingers. I'm not saying I support Trump. I'm probably not going to vote for him. God bless you if you are. But I do feel like if we're going to investigate him to a certain level, then maybe shouldn't we even be investigating other people to at least a similar level? And if you want to say, well, we are, well, I disagree respectfully. I don't think that we are investigating the Clintons or Biden. And I know people even believe, and I think, Troy, I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I think you're one of the people that says that Obama should be investigated. And, when I was more right wing, I would have wholeheartedly agreed with that. Now I'm a little more ambivalent about it, but that might not be so much a change in politics as just a weariness of spirit. Matt Cheatwood, liberty and justice for all. Indeed. And he also says the uniparty is real. And I'm sorry, I agree. One of the big arguments that I have is that whether you're voting Democrat, whether you're voting Republican, all too often we get the same things from both sides of the aisle. We put in, I mean to be respectful to you, Troy, but one of my things about Trump is, and I get some of the arguments on the other side, but when he promised to drain the swamp, I got to tell you, I was feeling chills. That is exactly what I want. And then I felt disappointed. And again, feelings aren't really what matters. Facts do. Troy, I am not sure if I ever said Obama should be, but I don't know. You never did. I just got that impression from some of the tweets. So forgive me for misunderstanding your positions. If Trump is investigated and charged with how he handled documents, yeah, no, fair point. Obama, Biden, Bush, yeah, they should all be investigated because, and I know, again, liberal friends are going to disagree with this, and that's okay. I could be mistaken, but I do feel like there's enough instances of similar things that haven't been nearly as touted. Let me, this may be a mistake, but I'm going to make it. And yes, my liberal friend who's in the chat is probably thinking, why in the hell did I sign on for this chat? You blankety blank. Well, okay, you're not wrong. I'm very disappointed in Trump. There is a lot of ways he believed that. Yes, That's exact. See, that was my point with writing about Eric Prince and about General Flynn and about Roger Stone. I think, respectfully, again, to the liberals, I think Trump's major failing wasn't so much that he's evil or bad, and I know there are very intelligent people who would disagree with me, but the major failing was he listened to bad actors and ended up basically falling into their schemes. He surrounded himself with statists working against him, and yeah, not wrong, and let ego get in the way. He may have gotten better, but he still has a lot to learn. And Dad, man, walking, good evening. It is so good to see you in the chat as well. You actually have entertaining streams. Everyone should check him out, but you all don't stir the hornet's nest quite like I do. But then I don't think any of us stirs the hornet's nest quite like, with respect, Moira Kitty does. Oh my gosh. She, agree with her, disagree with her. It's hard to deny that she is passionate about what she's saying, and that she does often back it up with solid stuff. Honestly, not that anyone cares who I'm voting for, but living in Illinois, knowing my vote won't matter anyway, I may vote for RFK Jr. And with respect to both all sides, that's honestly who I'm thinking about voting for myself. I know my conservative friends are probably going to howl that he's liberal, and he is, but I'm just going to be honest here. If my choice is Trump, Biden, or RFK, and I know my vote doesn't matter, like you say, Troy, we're kind of doomed. And yeah, if only to send a message to Trump. And yeah, I don't think that there's anything wrong with not being a yes man. If Trump's going to do this again, he's got to do it. He's got to do it a lot better. But yeah, I'm almost certainly going to vote for RFK, and that may make me wrong or bad. I have reasons why I can't, but I want to have focus, the fun, and escape. Yes, Dad Man Walking, you're actually smarter than I am about that. I shouldn't be stirring the hornet's nest, but I'm new, and I'm also like, I'm doing this for self-therapy, and I'm honestly do mean what I say, that I'm trying to figure this shit out. There's so much confusion in my own mind, and I'm trying to sort it all out. Your conservative friends need to get over their biases and look at what RFK Jr. has done and said recently. He is a classical liberal, but a populist liberal is better than a socialist statist, and I will say amen to that. And I never got to the end of it, but the interview that I was trying to present about Weinstein, he talks about why he's going to vote for RFK Jr. And he points out that that RFK Jr.'s book has really changed the way he's viewed a lot of things, including the government treatment of the disease that shall not be named. I notice Stacy is being silent. I hope I'm not alienating you, sir. If I am, feel free to call me out in the chat, because that's not what I'm meaning to do. Stirring the hornet's nest is cool. Yeah, I've never been accused of being cool before, but I'll take it. Appreciate that. So, okay, I was going to show something. What was it? I'm having a senior moment. Trump, bad advice. Dang, it slipped my mind. Well, okay. I'm going to then continue with my other post, sharing this stuff. And so Obama disgraced him. Colin Powell wrote some scathing opinions, and I got to admit, I have a lot of respect for Colin Powell. Whether that's right or wrong, feel free to tell me in the comments. But he wrote some scathing opinions of Flynn's alleged abuses of his subordinates. Um, after all that, he got right with God, and I don't mean to mock that. I am also, with respect to you, Matt Cheatwood, I don't mean to in any way uh, heap scorn on your beliefs at all, but I am revisiting my Christianity. I'm thinking, I'm just doing some thinking, and frankly, even some praying. And hello, Darth Plato. It is good to see you here, if only because Batgirl is hot. And Stacey Jones, the issue with documents is the law is written so a politician can't be charged unless you can show intentional retention, which leaves you an easy out if you know that part. And I wrote about that too. I'm not going to go into that post, not because I don't want to support your point. It's a valid point, but because I want to stay focused. But I've written about how a big part of the whole problem with Mar-a-Lago is that the laws are just so vague, at least to me. And I know I'm not a lawyer, and an attorney would probably just go, "God, really, Curtis? They're obvious." But when I tried to read them, they were convoluted. They made no sense. They had all kinds of caveats. They had all kinds of exceptions. Here I was thinking you appreciated me for my mind. Of course I do, Darth Plato. There's actually a woman out there who would be disturbed if I flirt too much with anybody, so I'll keep my comments platonic. Everybody in this chat, other than the woman that I'm thinking and talking about, everyone in this chat is safe from that kind of harassment from me, and that includes Netter's Network, although she is a very lovely lady, and Troy will tell you she's the love of his life, and those two give me so much hope because you just don't see a lot of married romance out there. And it may all be just for the screen, but I feel like it's not. I feel like it's genuine, and I love you guys for that. Yes. See, like right here, last call, Troy Picelli, hello, love of my life. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I could be completely wrong about Flynn, about Trump, about all that, but please, God, if you're up there, please don't let me be wrong about Troy and Netter having a beautiful romance. And if I am, well, that's really none of my business. So, Darth Plato, forget the election. Go Thunderdome. But man, I disagree. I think we do need another hero, but it would be really cool to see Trump, Biden, and RFK in an ultimate death match in the octagon, no holds barred, winner take all. The presidency goes to the last man standing. Sadly, I'm so disgusted with our government right now that I would probably go for that. I love you too, Netter's Network. Yeah, we're on screen too much to be able to keep up a charade, and I think that's one of the reasons why I believe it, because I think, even though I haven't been in the community very long, I think I would have caught it if it was fake. I'm not the best judge of character. I can be fooled. I have been fooled. I married as a fool. But yeah, I think it's real. I think it's real. And good on you for that. So, anyway, Flynn came back to God and became an energetic crusader for Trump. And that was after all the disgrace. He was one of the earliest to chant "Lock her up." In typical spook fashion, both Prince and Flynn have confusing ties to the Russian intelligence organizations. What? Darth Plato is saying that The Rock just announced his candidacy? Oh man, RFK finally has some serious competition. I'm going to have to do some thinking about that. The Rock is a candidate for president. Oh man, well, it'd be better. Well, anyway, I'm not going to say that. Not going to say that. Don't want to alienate anybody at this point. Anyway, Prince and Flynn have confusing ties to the Russian intelligence organizations. And if I'm going to be fair, we have to say both Trump and Biden have some very confusing and uncomfortable ties to Russia/Ukrainian interests. I will say for the record that I think that dossier of Clinton's was a fake. No disrespect meant, Stacey. You know, I again could be wrong. I'm not a spook. Are you kidding, Darth Plato? He just said he didn't want to be political anymore, not endorsing anyone. It was a follow-up to the Thunderdome. I am going to suspect that Darth Plato is kidding. I am not going to announce on my blog that The Rock is a candidate for president. Personally, I don't know. I may just vote for Vermin Supreme this time around. I may watch that video, but in typical spook fashion, both Prince and yet blah blah blah. I already read that. The new National Security Advisor Flynn came under fire almost immediately after the election, beginning with a report that he lobbied for Turkish interests during the U.S. presidential campaign. It was soon revealed that prior to taking office, he had contact with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak over President Barack Obama's recently issued sanctions. Flynn subsequently resigned on February 13, 2017, after just 24 days. But again, I'm still a little bit confused. Yes, the dossier, again, with respect to friends who think that it's legit, I am pretty certain that it has been legitimately debunked. It's not even that I'm trying to be supportive of Trump. I do still feel, in my humble opinion, that there are weird Ukrainian and Russian connections that make me very uncomfortable with Trump. But Biden has, in my humble opinion, very similar ties. America is like a Rubik's Cube, is far out of order. And yeah, I worry that maybe there is no fixing it. And, you know, maybe we just have to live with the broken consequences. I don't know. I don't know if I'm strong enough, to be frank. I know some preppers. I know some people like Matt Cheatwood out there. He's gonna be gold unless an actual civil war happens. Matt has got his stuff together. Me, man, I don't know. I just don't know whether I've got the strength to live through a broken America or not. But anyway, yeah, what I am still confused myself. You know, now lobbying for Turkish interests, yeah, okay. I don't like that. I don't like any foreign influence with respect to Sashi and anyone else that is a foreigner, you know. But I also don't, I think that America has too much influence on other countries. Don't be frank, just be Curtis. Oh, man, I always wanted to be Frank. He gets all the hot chicks. So this is Sergei Kislyak, the controversial ambassador who helped, whether intentionally or not, to ruin Flynn's career. He picks his nose in your general direction, Tovarish. This is where the story gets thorny and was very difficult for me to really share more than what was just my conjecture. Matt Cheatwood says the antidote to despair is hope, and that, whatever you may believe on politics or religion, that is 100% true. That's absolutely right. The antidote to despair is hope. And so I'm going to hope for better things, better times, and that I do have the strength to survive a broken country. I present to you Exhibit A, the website to the Flynn Intel Group that has been taken down and is no longer on the Internet Archive. But because I actually do have at least some skills, I actually got that to come up. Let's see if I was smart enough to actually get it to share to you guys. No, I don't. Good night. I must turn in my qualifications. All right, go back, present, share screen. Eventually I'll get to where I'm good enough to not actually say it, but this is Mike Flynn's deleted website. I have hope that a better future is possible. And Matt, I do believe that it is possible. Even if America is broken, I think it is possible for communities to have a better day. Darth Plato, wait to see the election turnout. Every election since 2000 has had an outbreak of not my president crowd, and that's correct. That's exactly correct. Every election, and it grows with each cycle. Eventually, it'll get so bad that the states will cluster into blocks that will or won't accept the election results. I suspect this could be this is it. Make no mistake where you are. This is his deleted website. Basically, I don't know if I'm going to be giving a very intelligent analysis of this, but after retiring, he started a private firm, as I just said, Flynn Intel Group, which has an incredible logo. Trump tapped him to become National Security Advisor, and then the Flynn Group, Intel's group, the website disappeared. The cache keeps Google's websites. Anyway, it's basically just the website to his site, and maybe that's not as fascinating as I thought, but there it is. So, according to the website, the company partnered with the best, brightest, and most elite companies in the world. Now, one of my big villains that I absolutely do believe is a villain, and again, feel free to comment if you disagree. One of the companies that I think is truly a villain is Blackwater. And Michael Flynn, let's see if I'm sharing this. Stop that screen, present the screen. Troy, how do you guys do it? You guys make it look so smooth. 'Cause you're so smooth, just like the ocean under the moon. Yeah, here we go. Michael Flynn worked with foreign cyber weapons group that sold spyware used against political dissidents. While serving as top campaign advisor to Donald Trump, Flynn worked with firms linked to the NSO group, which develops spyware and sells it to governments. I'll skip all that because you already know it. Flynn's work with foreign entities while his work advising Trump was not limited to his Ankara deal. Now, the Ankara deal was when he was lobbying, so convoluted. He was taking money, I guess, allegedly. Federal investigators began probing Flynn's lobbying efforts on behalf of a Dutch company led by a businessman with ties to a Turkish government earlier this year. Yes, it was my former roommate's my former roommate's thing. Blackwater and BlackRock both. Yeah, actually, I kind of was hoping that I was talking about BlackRock because I actually hate them more, which might sound weird, but it's just so weird how all this stuff is so convoluted. And the spooks, when you do even just a cursory investigation, they're all in bed with each other. The American spooks, the Russian spooks, the Israeli spooks, I would not doubt if the Chinese spooks. They all seem to work together. Flynn's moonlighting wasn't typical. Most people at the top level of major presidential campaigns do not simultaneously lobby for any entity, although I wonder how true that is. It's also unusual for former U.S. intelligence officials to work with foreign cybersecurity outfits. So these are some of the reasons why I pegged him as the bad guy. How the hell do your companies become richer than developed countries? Good question. So I don't know if you can verify this, but when I was working for Walmart, because I've always been good at getting jobs, and hence here I am. But I worked for Walmart for an uncomfortable length of time. The whole reason I'm bringing that up was one time I was reading their internal magazine, touting how good and great and kind and gracious they were. And they had an article that their estimated shrink from theft. Let me reiterate, we're not talking sales, we're not talking revenue, we're not talking profit, we're not even talking the entirety of their shrink, although it would be the biggest element of their shrink. But their estimated shrink due to theft back in 1997, according to this article, if you don't believe me, and again, I don't know if you can look it up, but I promise I read this because it burned itself into my mind. That figure would have made them the 19th wealthiest nation on earth. And that was the aha moment for me. I don't in any way want to sound anti-capitalistic, but I think some of these companies have gotten too big, and I think it's dangerous to us. Darth Plato, did you know who it was who said that votes don't matter? Who counts the votes matters. That's a tricky point, but it's also a good point. Let's see, where was I? Troy, you make it look so easy. So Flynn earned $1.5 million as a consultant, advisor, board member for more than 36 companies and individuals. And, you know, maybe that's not so bad, but two of those entities are directly linked to the NSO group. Secretive, Moira would just be down for this one, but it's a secretive Israeli cyber weapons dealer founded by Omri Levy and Shalom Julio. Yeah, she should be here for this. She would be so distracting us by now. They're rumored to have served in Unit 8200, the Israeli equivalent of the National Security Agency. Flynn received $40,280 last year as an advisory board member for OSY Technologies, an NSO group offshoot based in Luxembourg, a favorite tax haven for major corporations. Troy, when we start our own corporation, we have got to base it in Luxembourg. Please, somebody remember that because I'll forget it. Flynn served as a consultant for Francisco Partners, a U.S.-based private equity firm that owns NSO Group. It's like wheels within wheels. It's like the Ouroboros snake eating its own tail. Companies own other companies that own other companies that own other companies that own the original company. And so many people serve on the same boards. He did not disclose how much he was paid, and honestly, it's not so much how much he's paid that concerns me. It's what concerns me is all of these people are tied together. And so it's very difficult for us non-spooks, us idiot voters, to know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. The movie Wolf of Wall Street was funded by a financial scandal bigger than was depicted in the movie. I haven't seen that movie, and Troy is our movie expert in this chat. Anyway, Malaysia was involved in that stuff. The 1MDB debacle. I must confess my ignorance. I know about the movie, and I know lots of memes about the movie, but I have not watched it. Let me get back to sharing my own blog. I probably need to get off of here pretty soon. In fact, yeah, let me just tie this up so that people have time both to get into Netter's network and maybe a little bit of time to get a drink or something. But essentially, the punchline, if there is one, is that I did a lot of writing about these people, and now I'm revisiting. I don't, I revisit what I wrote, and I'm not saying I'm the most talented writer in the world, but I read this and I'm thinking, how is that the same guy? How is that the same guy who said those things? I'll play the trailer again just before we end. And I think that's actually a great way to end this is replay the trailer and remember what I've just discussed. Not so much to color what you think of the man, but I feel like it has to be taken into account when we evaluate this person, and I think he needs to be evaluated. So there is, as I said before, Flynn has made a movie, and that's the whole reason, or one of the reasons why I'm revisiting this stuff. Was I smart enough to share the right thing? Yes, I am. Kudos to moi.
War is this massive racket. I mean, we are at war constantly. Peace is the aberration, and war is the norm. So if I was to give a grade, like you get in grade school, right? I give us an A plus for participating in these never-ending wars. I give us an F for winning. When we fast forward to today, really from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 9/11, and the wars that we're constantly at, and you tell me when we weren't at war, for those that are running our country, they want this perpetuation of war. And you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose? All we're doing is we are spending. There are those that are profiting, and there are those that are sacrificing. War is the easiest racket.
So I guess the way I'm going to end this is you watch that trailer, and again, divorced from all the other things that I've researched, I look at that trailer and I think, this man, he knows what he's talking about, and he is speaking a great truth. So what I'm going to end with is a question, and I'm asking it not because I have the answer. I wish I did, but I don't. Is this a man who has had a come to Jesus moment and has decided that the spook way was not the good way? We need to start being good people. We need to start being honest and forthright. And he's coming out and doing that. I haven't watched the movie. I intend to. I'm going to try to watch it this weekend because I would love to share with the community what my thoughts are on that. I'm not going to make that my introductory Cause Me movie, which was something else I was going to talk about. I don't have a scheduled time yet, but I intend to do a Cause Me watch with my friends of Kung Fury. It's a beautiful movie. If you haven't watched it, you haven't lived. It's only 36 minutes. A Swiss director decided to make a deliberately bad movie, and it's beautifully bad. It's just beautifully bad. But yes, this is my question: is Michael Flynn, as Flynn, a good man, or basically a bad man who has repented and come to Jesus and is now on our side, or is he a deceptive person and all of this goodness is just a front and a screen, and he's got his own purposes, or his handlers have his own purposes, and we can't really trust them? Again, I don't have the answer. I'm bringing all this up not to confuse the issue, but because this is the way my freaking mind works, sadly. I leave you with that question, and I also want to leave you all with a good thank you. And I know that the good ones always go through their chat and thank everybody that has been there. I'm going to do that very quickly. Stacy Jones, you agreeing to come on was the whole reason I did this, and then I ended up trashing most of your beliefs. Good on you, and bad on me. Matt Cheatwood, as always, is a pleasure. You always have insightful and intelligent things to say. Sashi, I love that you share what's going on out there, and you're also in the future. I have to remember that. I forget about that. Last call with Troy. Thank you so much for showing up. You don't know what it means to me. You're the one that actually has the skills I'm trying to acquire. You're probably about as close to a mentor as I've had in a hot minute. I think there was at least one. Oh, yes, Dad Man Walking. Thank you for showing up. Anyone that hasn't, actually check all of these people out. Last Call, especially, and Dad Man Walking. Some of you don't actually do creating, so I'm not saying don't check out the non-creators channels, but it's probably better if you go to someone that's got actual creations. Darth Plato, thank you very much. I love you for your mind, and Edders Network, I love you for loving Troy. And I think I have everybody who's been in here. Thank you very much. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the good thoughts. I'm going to get off of here, and later I will be at Netters Network for as long as I can stay awake. Opponent fatigue is a real thing. And I don't have a great outro. Sorry, just before I leave. Ever heard the song John Brown's Body? No. If I have, I don't remember it. Don't check me out. Nothing to see here. Move along, and I will go look for it. Okay. So, and trust no one by their word alone. By their fruits you shall know them. Absolutely correct. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Oh, wait. Don't take this the wrong way, but I hope you can't sleep. I hate to tell you this, but to quote Don Henley, there is no wrong, there is no right, and I sleep very well at night. Oddly enough, I do. I used to suffer very badly from insomnia. For whatever reason, God, Cthulhu, or the floating spaghetti monster has blessed me with the ability to sleep, and I'm very grateful for that. So, anyway, yes, man. Okay, I'm going to call it a night. Have no good outro, but good evening, and maybe just keep an open mind. Be aware that there are different perspectives. And remember, it's not that somebody voted differently or thinks differently. That's not what makes them the enemy. The enemy is this dark, shadowy, alphabet soup, deep state crap that Trump was smart enough to talk about, was evidently not able to do much about. And with that, I bid you an adieu.